you go and you look at the top 4 and 5 rated offensive lines in college football last season, in like the top 5 were all 4 of the teams that played in the college football playoff. There's a reason why those teams are there, and it all begins with offensive line play, and where Malzahn was really good at bringing in skill position players. Now Bryan Harsin needs to be really good at bringing in offensive linemen. He's getting smarter with his with his staff. He's added some SEC guys. He's added some group of 5 guys. He's even added some Western guys. And what he's done is he's basically trying to cover the entire country, but he does have coaches that have connected in Florida. Cadillac Williams and IMG Academy is probably the big one there. Derek Mason has not only connections in the SEC, he has major connections in the state of Alabama. What people really don't realize is that Derek Mason was just blowing up I-65 and driving down there. There were numerous times where I talked to Derek Mason, and him and I would just talk restaurants in various cities that he's been in, and he would ask for restaurant recommendations. He loved a good meat and three. And so in Montgomery, when he would come visit some players down there, we'd give him a few meat and three places that he would need to go to. And one of them was actually called Gales Down the Street, and it was just absolutely tremendous. And he would like, all right, cool. When I'm in town, I'm going to go there. So those are the types of things that Derek Mason did. So not only does he have the connections in Alabama, he has the connections in the state of California because of his ties to Stanford. And those are kind of the directions that he went. I was actually glad that he didn't go with more Auburn players or more former Auburn players as coaches, because I think that those guys it was going to be kind of iffy to have that many former Auburn players on your team. I love Zach Etheridge being on this. If you don't know his story, he literally broke his neck playing at Auburn, and he was out for a season, and then he comes back in 2010 and makes an interception in the national championship game to help Auburn win the game. This guy should have already had a movie made about him, and he is coached at Georgia Tech. He's coached at Houston, and now he's back at Auburn. But being in Houston, he's got the Texas tie. So he's gotten kind of interesting picks to be the guys that are going to be recruiting with him. Now it's going to be interesting to see how many guys from the West Coast, Florida and Texas, are going to make their way to Auburn coming up in this 2022 class.
There's always that transition. And so Bryan Harsin had to pick up for what was a pretty dismal class at that point, and did a pretty decent job of rallying the troops.
Well, he did, and I have friends that live in Boise, Idaho, and in fact, I was sitting in this exact spot that we're doing this interview right now, and I was talking to him the other night, and he basically said, look, man, I will always be a Boise Bronco fan, a Boise State Bronco fan, but if I have to cheer now for a Power 5 football team, I am all about Auburn, because Bryan Harsin is an amazing coach. The media are those people are going to hate him because he will snap back and he will give smart aleck answers, and he won't put up with crap. And I promise you, these players and these coaches that he's coaching with are going to absolutely love him because of how hard-nosed he is. And you could see that right in his first class, or his first press conference that he did, is he came out and he is no nonsense. I mean, he is very straightforward, and that is something that Auburn has not had in a very long time. And I think that that's where this is going to be very interesting, because people do want to look at this recruiting class just like what you were. This thing's 27th in the country. Auburn's normally a top 10. What on earth happened? What you really should see is that the fact that they're 27th, and that's the reason why they have a brand new coach, because not only did they not perform on the football field and they let games go that they should have won, but they also weren't recruiting, which means that when they were going into players' homes, the players' homes and the players weren't believing them and what they were selling to them. And that's where your biggest problem comes, because those recruits are your foundation.